Hello, it's Delia. Thanks for clicking on. So what we're going to talk about right now is your voice and whether you're claiming it or reclaiming it, or somehow you're not certain of your voice or you're not comfortable with your voice. And this could be anything from the way you sound to, like an auditory level, or it could be the question of the days, the ages right now is, speaking your voice and what is your voice and using your voice. So there's a lot of different aspects to your voice and using it, and who do you use it for or against. so um, when you are very sensitive, like you probably are, and very intuitive, very psychic, whatever very word you want to use. And it's usually a word that has some charge to it. Um, People who are sensitive and aware of emotions can be um, ridiculed and criticized and invalidated because they're emotional. They're aware of emotions of their own and other people's. And because the concept is so muddied, if you are the kind of person who walks into a room and knows the emotional state of everybody else in there, whether you want to or not, this is a good sign that you are clairsentient. Sentient, it's the you feel what other people feel, and it can be you could be the kind of clairsentient that would, if you developed it, could become a medical intuitive. So your body may tell you, um, somebody has some trouble with their stomach. And the way you would know that if you're clairsentient is you, again, walking into a room or being in conversation with somebody on the phone and starting to have a pain in your body. And because it's in your body, and we have a lot of misinformation about what bodies are and how aware they are. So the misconception is that if your body has as a sensation, it must belong to you. This is not the case at all. Our bodies are so much more extraordinary and capable and sensitive and aware of energy than the story of our bodies. So it's almost as though we have a little like a child's storybook, like a vocabulary, see spot run, kind of that remedial, that basic, that beginner understanding of what bodies are and what they're capable of. So uh, I think I'm going to make that a different show because that's a whole other thing. So let's go back to voice. You can be uh, sensitive and psychically aware so much of energy that if somebody else has some emotion or some strong opinion, that it comes into your sphere, and then it's so loud and clear you think it belongs to you. So if you have that experience where, here's a better description of it, where you're with somebody and you like them and you want them to like you. And so you end up kind of energetically matching them. This happens a lot in dating, which is why dating doesn't work, which is you get a sense of what you think the other person wants, and then you become that. And the mechanics of that usually are For instance, you go to dinner and you want this new person to like you. So you notice what they order, and then you order based on, you extrapolate what you should order based on what they have ordered. This kind of matching somebody else's energy is really common, and it's also really valued in our culture and in a lot of sales and neurolinguistic programming. And there's also just kind of all sorts of areas where you're encouraged to mimic the person that you're with, to what is it, active listening is where you use the person's words back to them. And so there's a lot of confusion about all this. And if you are looking for your voice, or you want to use your voice and you want your voice to express you, then all this mimicry training is confusing, because it's you leaving you to find out what they want and then doing and saying and being that. So this is bringing up a lot of energy, I can tell. So we're going to do some clearings. So everything that brought up and let down, the whole thing about listening to other people and then mimicking them so that you'll be liked. Everything that is, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times a gazillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. So that's destroy, which is pretty obvious. De-story is we have stories that hold these beliefs in place. So destroying the energy, de-storing, taking away the things that are grounding it and anchoring it in your life, in your head. Destroy, destory. Disintegrate is obviously unintegrating it, right? Dissolving it, letting it dissipate. And erase, which is obvious. So when energy comes up, that's at all um, compressing or oppressive or dark or heavy, it's not true for you. And the things that are true for you are light and bright and expansive. So when we are talking about things and the dark energy comes up, the heavy energy, we'll do the clearing to dissipate the energy so that you can really feel the relief of it, right? So in this, I was uh, doing some work with some women during the course of the week about their voice and doing clearings around finding their voice and having their voice. These were women in business. And if you're if you have your own business, or you're in a small business, or you've ever done marketing for something that's near and dear to you, it could be that you've had some experiences with the trouble of finding your voice and using your voice to promote yourself and to get out there, so to speak, right? And this could be true in lots of other situations too. That's just the situation that this came up in. So one of the most obvious things is that it can be problematic to have and use your voice if you've ever, in any way, shape, or form, gotten in trouble for it. And I have yet to meet anybody who's not gotten in trouble for their voice. Everything that is, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times a gazillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Whew, yeah. And the other thing that's really common, that, if you have had experiences in other lifetimes where you were killed for speaking up and for speaking out, or for saying something that somebody didn't like, then it's going to be very difficult for you to speak up and out in this lifetime. And so, because when we have a traumatic and violent death, then we usually have like I think of it as, note to self, don't do that again. And it's an intensity of energy that could get stuck so that you'll remember it, kind of thing. And so the clearings that we do help to dissipate and release all of that energy so that you can keep the information, because it could be useful to have some information from that lifetime, but you don't need to keep the emotionality and the way the emotionality got stuck, right? So everything that brings up and lets down was destroy and uncreate at all times a godzillion. Destroy, disintegrate, and erase. Excellent. So when you're in the process of really being committed to you and finding and developing and living with and expressing what's true for you, if you have multiple lifetimes, and most of you do, where you were killed for speaking up or speaking out, then it kind of doesn't matter what you do because the self-preservation system is going to override whatever you're doing today. And it's, there's this note to self, don't speak up. And because the system has integrity, which is not a moral value, but it's like the grain of a tree. It's integrous because this is the way an oak grain looks, and this is the way crystal grain looks. It's not integrity. I mean, it's not moral. It's just is. So if you're trying to find a way to speak up because it's a good idea, or because someone told you you need to, or it's something that's really not in your heart, in your passion, in your joy choice, then you're not going to get very far. And then on top of that, you have these past lives where you were killed with that note to self stuck in place, then you're not going to get far because the um, the integrity of the system says to keep you alive. And there's a note in there that says keeping you alive means keeping your mouth shut and keeping you hidden. And so that's going to be the overriding thing until you have a choice for you that has the same intensity as that note to self, the same life force wish, because that's what that note to self was. It's a life force wish. And so when you have that within you by choice now in this lifetime, then you can start to make significant changes. But if you're just doing it because it's a good idea, nothing's really going to change too much. So one of the things that will keep that note to self in place will be finding examples of how that note to self is true. So if you think of that note to self as a pain picture, this is something that caused pain. And then what happens is we live through the lens of that picture. So we see things that validate the picture. And so then, let's say speaking up is going to get you killed is a little on the nose. And oftentimes these things are a little more circuitous than that, or a little more hidden than that. So let's say a way to keep you quiet is you have people when you're growing up that are not interested in what you have to say. They have their own stuff, they have their own um, psychological stuff going on, whatever. Doesn't matter. But you have people around you who are validating your idea that you're speaking up is not a good idea. And they're using the vocabulary of nobody wants to hear what you have to say. So every yes, that energy. So everything that brings up and lets down, and known and unknown from this or any other body, lifetime, universe, or dimension, do you choose to destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase all of that times a godzillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Vaporize, liquefy. Whew, yeah, yeah. So everywhere that you have the lie that says that nobody wants to hear what you have to say, everything that is, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times a godzillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Vaporize, liquefy. And everywhere that you have misidentified and misapplied um, other people's moods, and they're being preoccupied with their own stuff, and you've taken it personal as meaning something about you, and then charted your course based on that, do you choose to destroy and uncreate all that times a godzillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Vaporize, liquefy. So, in that scenario, you can have a situation where um, you get the feeling that they don't really want to hear what you have to say. Um, and because here's the thing, the feeling, the words that you may ascribe to the feeling, which is that they don't want you to talk, can be accurate, but it doesn't necessarily mean what you think that it means. Because then you extrapolate it into saying that therefore um, what you have to say is not worth hearing. So everything that brings up and lets down, known and unknown from this or any other body, lifetime, universe, or dimension, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times a godzillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. So everywhere that you have made personal other people's emotions and moods and energies and made them mean something about you, yeah, everything that is, everything that brings up and everything that lets down, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times a godzillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Vaporize, liquefy, vaporize, liquefy. Excellent. Yeah, so the more you do these clearings, the more you can make headway with owning, reclaiming, finding, using, expressing your very own voice in ways that really serve you. So, thanks for listening, and we'll do some more of these on specifically on you and your voice so that you can have your voice. And if you care to, please leave comments about what came up for you or different aspects of having your voice and using your voice that you'd like me to cover. So I will see you next time. Thanks and take care.